There is one question I get asked more than any other right now. What do I need to learn today to make sure I'm still competitive and highly employable in the job market 3 to 5 years from now? The honest answer starts with understanding what is changing around you. And right now, the biggest driver of change in the European economy is not AI, not geopolitics, and not the energy crisis. It is regulation. Over 30 European Union regulations are reshaping how products are designed, how supply chain works, how companies produce, source, and document what they sell. Every single one of them is creating new tasks that require new competences that define new careers. I'm Anastasia, I read European Union regulations for a living. Let me show you what I see. European Union sustainability legislation is not one law. It is a system, an interconnected set of requirements where each part drives the others. Let me show you 5 pillars. Each one creates specific jobs and changes specific roles. Pillar 1. Reporting and consumer communication. Imagine this. Your marketing team designs a campaign around your new sustainable product. Beautiful packaging, clear green claims, catchy tagline. You launch, then a customer emails and asks for the data that supports the green claim. The data you are now legally required to have. And you don't have it. That is what reporting and consumer communication means in 2026. The Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, the Empowering Consumers Directive, European Union Taxonomy, textile labeling, these create demand for regulatory literacy, data management, and compliance communication skills. Pillar 2. Product design and market access. Picture this. Your product launch is 3 months away. Marketing is ready, inventory is ready, then legal flags that the product doesn't meet the new eco-design requirements. That is what product design and market access means in 2026. The eco-design regulation, packaging waste regulation, construction products regulation, detergents, cosmetics, batteries, single-use plastics, right to repair, digital product passports, these are binding design specifications that determine whether a product can legally be sold in Europe. They create demand for circular product designers, digital product passport leads, procurement specialists who understand life cycle requirements, sales professionals who can sell product as a service, and reverse logistics specialists. Pillar 3. Supply chain accountability. Consider this, a supplier 3 tiers below you, a mine in a country you have never visited, is linked to deforestation or forced labor. Under the new rules, that is not their problem, it is yours. That is what supply chain accountability means in 2026. The Deforestation Regulation, the Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive, REACH, Conflict Minerals, the Net Zero Industry Act, the Waste Framework Directive, these extend legal responsibility both up and down the supply chain. This creates demand for traceability specialists, due diligence managers, circular sourcing professionals, and end-of-life compliance specialists. Pillar 4. Resource security. Now think about the critical material your production depends on. Maybe lithium, cobalt, rare earth. 90% of it comes from outside Europe. And with one geopolitical decision, your supply chain stops. That is what resource security means in 2026. The Critical Raw Materials Act, Resource EU Action Plan, the Industrial Accelerator Act, Europe is building supply chain autonomy. And participating in that system requires new capabilities in material strategy, secondary materials integration, recycling process engineering, and materials traceability. Pillar 5. Border crossing and trade. One more scene. A shipment of steel arriving at a European port. Same supplier, same price you negotiated last year. But now there is a carbon tariff attached, and your margin is gone. That is what border crossings and trade mean in 2026. The Emission Trading System Directive, CBAM, the Waste Shipment Regulation, these are reshaping what it costs to import into Europe, what you must document at the border, and which supply chains remain commercially viable. This creates demand for carbon accountants, embedded emissions analysts, trade compliance specialists, customs sustainability managers, and supply chain decarbonization advisors. Out of these 30 plus regulations, 3 deserve your full attention. And not because they are the most talked about, but because they are the most career relevant. And I will show you which ones and why. Regulation 1. The Packaging and Packaging Waste Regulation. Here is the date that should scare every retailer in Europe. August 2026. That is when every packaged product sold in the European Union needs a declaration of conformity. Mandatory recycled content in plastic packaging, minimum 30% by 2030, design requirements for recyclability, and a digital product passport containing all legally required packaging information. Here is what makes this regulation different from most. It touches every single product sold or imported into Europe. Not a specific sector, not a specific material, every product has packaging, which means packaging and packaging waste regulation is effectively a market access condition for the entire European market. For importers and retail chains, supplier contracts signed today may deliver non-compliant products in 2 years. The suppliers who build compliant packaging solutions early will hold the negotiating power, not retailers. The key implications is clear. Procurement managers who understand recyclability criteria, material composition requirements, and supplier documentation will be significantly more valuable than those who don't. This doesn't belong in the sustainability department. It belongs in procurement, and by 2028 it will be a baseline expectation and not a niche skill. Regulation 2. The Empowering Consumer Directive. In force from September 2026. Selling a product labeled sustainable, climate neutral, eco-friendly or green will not be as easy as before. Some generic environmental claims are prohibited, the rest require substantiation. Carbon offsetting as a sole basis for a climate-neutral claim is explicitly prohibited. Companies must show an actual emissions reduction plan. And here is something most marketing teams have not yet registered. You cannot advertise what is legally required. If your packaging meets recyclability standards because packaging and packaging waste regulation requires it, you cannot market that as a sustainability achievement. If your product has a repairability score because Eco-Design Directive requires it, that is not a differentiator, it is a baseline. With over 30 product regulations now setting mandatory standards for design, materials, durability and recyclability, many of the things companies have been advertising as sustainable features are rapidly becoming legal minimums. This is what changes for marketing professionals. The ones who cannot navigate environmental claims regulation carry legal risk for their employer. Sustainability claims compliance is becoming a distinct role, sitting between marketing, sustainability, and legal. Nobody fully owns it yet in most organizations. And that is a career gap. Regulation 3 is the Eco-Design Regulation and Digital Product Passport. Binding design specifications for virtually all product categories: durability, repairability, reusability, recyclability, absence of substances that hinder recycling, recycled content minimums. A product that doesn't meet these requirements cannot legally be sold in Europe. And connected to this, the Digital Product Passport. From 2027, rolling out across batteries, furniture, toys, construction products, packaging, textile, mattresses, detergents, electronics, tires, and more. A machine-readable data profile, material composition, hazardous substances, carbon footprint, repair instructions, and much, much more. But a digital product passport is not just a label or a document. It is a data challenge, a digital infrastructure challenge, a governance challenge, stretching across your entire supply chain. Who owns the data? Who verifies it? How does it flow from Tier 3 supplier to finished product? Who updates it when something changes? These are not sustainability questions. They are data architecture and governance questions. And this one creates the role I believe will define the next decade, a role most companies still don't know they need. I will name it in just 30 seconds. No single function can own this alone. It requires sustainability, IT, procurement, legal, and product development working together, and someone who can lead across all of them. The digital product passport requires a new kind of professional, one who sits at the intersection of regulatory knowledge, data systems, and supply chain management. Someone who understands governance not just within the organization, but across the entire supply chain. That person is the Digital Product Passport Lead, a role that barely exists today and will be standard in large companies by 2028. Let me step back and map what all of this means for the people doing the work. The 3 regulations I just covered and the many others I named, they create demand for specific skills. Some need to be integrated into roles that already exist. Others require entirely new functions that most organizations don't yet have. Here are the roles that will change most significantly over the next 1 to 3 years. Procurement. Not just price, delivery, and supplier negotiations. Procurement is becoming a strategic function that shapes product footprint, regulatory compliance, and circular potential. Buyers who understand lifecycle costing, supplier traceability, digital product passport data requirements, and recycled content verification will be significantly more valuable than those who don't. Product development and design. The product-specific regulations make design decisions legally binding from the start. Repairability, material choice, durability, product as a service. These are not add-on to the existing design work. It is a redesign of the design process itself. Marketing and communication. The Empowering Consumer Directive is pushing companies towards transparency, responsibility, and accountability, and away from greenwashing. Marketing professionals who can navigate this will build credibility for their organizations, and those who cannot will create legal exposure. IT and data management. Digital product passports require new data infrastructure, connecting PLM systems, ERP, supplier databases, and compliance tools. These are a major IT project in every company it touches. Finance and controlling. Extended producer responsibility fees, carbon costs, lifecycle costing, transition risk. These are line items now, not footnotes. Controllers who understand the financial structure of the circular transition will be the ones advising on investment decisions. Supply chain and logistics. Reverse logistics, take-back systems, deforestation due diligence, traceability across suppliers at every tire. The supply chain functions is expanding in the scope and the complexity. None of these functions are disappearing, but the competence profile for each is fundamentally changing, and the change is being driven directly and specifically by the regulations I just described. So how do you use this information for your own career planning? The most powerful analytical tool is a 4-step framework. When a new regulation is published, a delegated act arrives, or an investment priority is announced, ask these 4 questions. What must businesses do differently because of this? What competences are needed to do that? Which roles will need those competences? And where is the gap between what exists now and what will be needed? Let me show you how this works with one example. The Eco-Design for Sustainable Products regulation requires product-level data on repairability, recycled content, and environmental footprint. This is the regulatory signal. The business implication: companies must build data collection, supplier verification, and reporting systems across their product portfolios. The competence implication: demand for data management, regulatory literacy, life cycle assessment, circular economy knowledge, and supply chain collaboration skills. The role impact: the emergence of the digital product passport lead and the transformation of procurement, IT, and product development roles. You don't need to wait for the job description to change before you start building the competences. You can read the policy signals now before it becomes a requirement. This video gave you the landscape. If you're wondering how your career will be affected or looking at your next career steps, The regulations I covered are not just compliance requirements. They are the map of the roles and competences that organizations will need in the 2030s. Every regulation I covered today is a career signal. But the signals that matter most for your career are the ones that haven't been published yet. The delegated acts coming in the next 18 months. Subscribe and I will read them for you first.